It was just past dawn when Jack Turner, a 38-year-old single dad, stepped outside to grab his toolbox from the shed behind his modest home in rural Montana. The early November frost clung to the ground like a warning of the winter to come. Jack wasn't expecting visitors, especially not a woman with a bruised face and 6 shivering kids huddled together under a torn blanket in the corner of his shed. He froze. The woman flinched as their eyes met. "Please, he broken bar, don't call the cops," she whispered, her voice trembling. Jack was a man of few words. Raising his 8-year-old daughter Maddie alone had taught him more about quiet strength than loud promises. His instinct said to help. His heart didn't hesitate. He knelt beside the woman. "You're safe here." 3 hours earlier, Maria Alvarez, a 33-year-old widow, had fled a violent situation. Her husband, once a kind man, had become unpredictable and dangerous after returning from a second deployment. When he passed in a car crash 6 months ago, her troubles didn't end, they multiplied. Debt, no job, and a landlord who saw her desperation as opportunity. She ran. Her rusted van broke down just outside town. Cold and scared, she spotted a dim light behind a modest house, the shed. She and her children, aged 2 to 13, slipped inside. Back to the present. Jack brought them inside, fed them, let the kids shower, gave Maria his late wife's sweater. Maddie, curious and fearless, offered her room for the night. "They can sleep with my teddy bears," she said. Jack stayed up that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how fate had chosen him for this. The next morning, he made a call, not to the police, but to Pastor Graham, the town's most trusted man. Word spread, but instead of judgment, something miraculous happened. The town reacts. By sunset the next day, neighbors arrived. One by Onia. Mrs. Hendricks brought groceries. Carl from the hardware store offered to fix Maria's van. A retired teacher offered tutoring for the kids. People who hadn't spoken in years stood shoulder to shoulder, building bunk beds and setting up donations. Why? Because Jack Turner, a man who had lost everything on Sia, chose to give, not look away. But the most powerful moment came when Maddie stood on a church stage a week later during Sunday service. She tugged on her dad's sleeve. "Can I say something?" He nodded. "My dad says we help people not because we have to, but because we get to." Ms. Maria and her kids weren't strangers, they were just people who needed a family. Silence. Then tears, then applause. The unexpected twist. The following month, a local journalist covered the story. A video clip of Maddie's words went viral on social media. Donations poured in from across the US, UK, and Canada, enough to cover housing, schooling, and therapy for the entire Alvarez family. More than that, it sparked a movement. Shed of Hope, a small-town initiative started by Jack and Maria, began building temporary shelters for struggling families across the state. Emotional climax. One night, months later, Jack sat by the fire with Maria, watching the kids decorate their first real Christmas tree together. "I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't found us," Maria whispered. Jack looked at her, eyes full of quiet conviction. "I think a broken bar, maybe you were the ones who found me." Uplifting ending. Jack, once a grieving widower just trying to survive each day, had found new purpose, not just in helping, but in healing. Not just in giving shelter, but in building a home again. The town, once divided by silence and distance, was united by one man's simple decision to open a door instead of closing it. Because sometimes, the greatest change begins with an open heart, a broken bar, and a forgotten shed. The holidays passed in a blur of joy, noise, and healing. For the first time in years, Maria's children left without fear. Jack smiled more. And Maddie? She had 6 new siblings to chase and cherish. But even as peace settled in, challenges loomed. Winter deepened. A brutal snowstorm hit the valley in January, cutting off power for days. The town struggled. Jack, ever resourceful, opened his home to 3 elderly neighbors whose heaters had failed. Maria cooked warm meals. The kids helped shovel snow from porches. And the shed, the same place where Maria had once taken desperate shelter, was now transformed into a heated, insulated space stocked with supplies. Locals began calling it the Heart Shed. It became a symbol, a literal beacon during dark days. A warm, welcoming space offering blankets, food, and conversation. A test of faith. In February, tragedy struck again. Pastor Graham, who had quietly been battling cancer, passed away. He had been the community's moral compass. His absence left a void no one knew how to fill. At the funeral, Jack stood beside Maria, unsure if he could speak, but Maddie gently pressed his hand. "You always say strong people don't talk much. Maybe now's the time to talk." So Jack did. Voice shaking, he said, "I thought I was alone after losing my wife. I thought silence was strength, but it was kindness that saved me. Kindness and a woman brave enough to knock on the door no one else would." Pastor Graham believed in building bridges, so let's build them. Every day, people stood, applauded, hugged, cried. The movement grows. After the funeral, momentum built. Donations surged again. Inspired by the heart shed, neighboring towns asked Jack and Maria for guidance in creating similar sanctuaries. They launched a non-profit, Shelter Light. Its mission? Simple: no one left out in the cold, no story left unheard. Veterans, single moms, homeless teens, struggling elders. One by one, lives changed, not because Jack or Maria had all the answers, but because they offered something even greater: presence, dignity, and warmth. Twist of grace. Then came the unexpected twist that stunned everyone. One of the online donors, a Canadian entrepreneur named Elise Barrett, flew in unannounced. She lost her son to PTSD the year before and had followed the Heartshed story obsessively. "I thought I'd never believe in people again," she told Jack, tears falling freely, "but your story, it gave me faith. I want to help." Within weeks, she donated enough to open 5 more shelters in 3 different countries. Emotional peak the following Christmas, exactly 1 year from when Maria and her kids had first hidden in the cold. Jack proposed something simple but powerful. He invited every person the Heartshed had helped to gather in the town square. Hundreds showed up, and as snow fell gently on the crowd, Jack stepped forward with Maria at his side, and Maddie standing between them. He said, "A year ago, I opened a shed, but I didn't realize I was opening my own heart, too, and from that heart a broken bar came all of you. This isn't my story, it's ours." Maria, with tears in her eyes, took the mic.